All right, let's dive into something pretty mind-bending today, a core idea from Buddhist philosophy. What if the very concept of you, that sense of self you hold so dear, is actually the single biggest thing standing in the way of your own enlightenment?
So, here's where we're headed. We're going to start with this central paradox, and then we'll really dig into why this I is considered such a huge obstacle. We'll look at all the different ways it shows up in our lives, check out the alternative path of no self, and finally, explore this wild idea that letting go might be the only way to find the real you.
Okay, so first things first, let's get right to the heart of this puzzle.
I mean, really think about that for a second. So much of our lives is this big quest to find ourselves or be our authentic selves. But what if that whole project, that clinging to a fixed idea of who you are, is the very chain that's holding you back?
And listen, this isn't some new age idea someone just came up with. This is a foundational concept from ancient texts, like the Diamond Sutra, and it gets really specific about why this I is such a roadblock on the path to becoming a Buddha.
So, the sutra lays out these 4 marks that someone on the path to enlightenment, a bodhisattva, can't be attached to. And you notice which one comes first, right? The mark of self. It's presented as the absolute root of the problem, the seed from which all the other attachments grew.
And here it is, plain and simple. The definition of a Buddha, what it means to be truly enlightened, isn't about gaining something or adding a new layer to yourself. It's about becoming free from these attachments, especially that first one, the attachment to a self.
So the real test, the key that unlocks the whole thing, is truly understanding the truth of no self. And we're not just talking about grasping it with your intellect. The text makes it clear this has to be a deep, fundamental realization.
So what is this mark of self we keep talking about? Well, it's that rock-solid belief we all have in a separate, permanent me. It's that little narrator in our heads that's always saying, this is who I am, this is my story, these are my traits. This whole philosophy is basically saying that solid self is an illusion.
This really just sums up the core conflict perfectly. It's like a seesaw. If one side is up, the other has to be down. You can't have both at the same time. The weight of that clinging, solid ego makes enlightenment impossible. The two are, quite simply, mutually exclusive.
Now this is where this teaching gets really powerful, because it doesn't just stay up in the clouds. It comes right down to earth and shows us all the different masks the ego wears in our day-to-day lives.
I absolutely love this metaphor. Each one of these attachments to I, it's not just some small pothole in the road. It's a massive, towering mountain pass that you have to cross, and they just keep coming, one after another, blocking your path.
So let's look at the first mountain range, ambition. It doesn't matter if the goal is to become a millionaire or to bring honor to your family. It's all driven by that I want. And here's the kicker. Even a noble goal like, I want to become a Buddha, is still rooted in that I. The very act of striving becomes the obstacle.
Okay, next up, the I belief. Our convictions, whether they're religious, political, or just our personal judgments about right and wrong, they create a very solid sense of self. When we say, I believe this, we're drawing a line in the sand, creating a division that defines who we are in opposition to something else. And then there's the I of possession. Every single time we say the word my, we're building another slat in the fence around our ego. My country, my family, even defining my enemy. It all reinforces who I am based on what I claim ownership of.
And finally, the I of self-judgment. Man, we do this all day long, don't we? We're constantly sticking labels on ourselves. I'm great, I'm poor, I'm humble, I'm successful. And every single label, whether we think it's good or bad, becomes another brick in the wall we're building around our identity, trapping us inside.
So, if the I is this seemingly endless series of mountain passes, how on earth do you ever get through? Well, the answer is kind of a riddle. You don't climb over the mountains. You realize the mountains aren't actually there to begin with. You take the path of no self.
This slide just lays out the choice so clearly. On one side, you have the state of being with I, which leads to being blocked, limited, and trapped. But on the other side, you have no I, which opens up everything to flow, freedom, and the ability to finally see clearly.
And this brings us right back to that huge, beautiful paradox. By letting go of the small, limited, constricted ego, the I that we think we are, we can finally perceive our true, boundless nature. The text calls this the Tathagata, which is just another name for the Buddha, or your true enlightened self.
So, this all brings us to the final,
crucial choice. The source material lays out two very different paths we can walk down, and they each lead to a very different destination.
First, you've got the path most of us are on by default, the path of attachment. We spend pretty much our whole lives clinging to, defending, and trying to build up this idea of I. But because that I is ultimately an illusion, just a temporary construct, the end result is, well, nothing, emptiness and loss.
But then there's the other way, the path of release. It starts by intentionally letting go of that small, grasping ego. And in that very act of release, you paradoxically get access to the true, unchanging self.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly sums up the entire teaching. The only way to find what's real and lasting is by letting go of what's temporary and made up.
And that leaves us with one last question to just sit with. Think back to those mountain passes we talked about. Ambition, belief, possession, self-judgment. Which one of those are you holding on to the tightest today? And what do you think might happen if you started just a little bit to loosen your grip?